Buddy, Annie Chin Taylor here, and as you know, I love asking questions to generate a different possibility. And why do I do this? Because sometimes I find myself experiencing something that doesn't work for me, and asking questions in a space of wonderment and curiosity of what else could be occurring for me that would work for me is a way to generate a different possibility. Okay, so it's kind of hard to generate a different possibility when we are stuck in conclusion about something. For instance, I was at the airport about a week ago, and I arrived an hour before my flight was going to take off. And I rushed into the airport to see a long line, like 70 people deep, to get to the counter in order for me to get my boarding pass and check my bag. And so I started to go into the conclusion of I might not make my flight because this line is not moving fast enough. And that might sound like a real obvious conclusion to come to, a practical conclusion to come to because of one's past experiences or other people's experience of missing their flights when they didn't leave enough time to check in. But so what if you could actually not bog yourself down in conclusions based on past experiences and actually choose to step into being in the question of what else is possible here? So here's a question that I heard from another Access Consciousness facilitator that asked this question in order to create a different possibility. And I used it, and it helped shift my energy, and not just shift my energy from being anxious and fearful that I was going to miss my flight, but it actually generated a different possibility for me. And I didn't have to figure it out, which I love. I mean, okay, so I don't want to get distracted with a different point here. Okay, so what the question that I asked, that I would love it and encourage you guys if you actually stepped into seeing if this tool could help change things for you, was, if I had no fixed point of view here, what magic could I create? And it's kind of a different kind of question because it's coming from the idea that your points of views create your reality. And if your reality isn't working for you, what questions can you ask to create a different possibility, a different reality? Okay, how can you change your reality? By asking questions and being open to receiving something different. And so I started to get myself bogged down, like, oh, hurry up, the counter's not moving fast enough, this line is stopped. And I thought, okay, let's ask this question. And I really got in, by asking the question once and then twice, it started to help me not just calm down, but to let go of the conclusion that I was going to be late for my flight. Okay, so it took me out of the stress. And so I stood there in line and just asked like 4 or 5 times, okay, if I didn't have a fixed point of view here that this line is moving too slow and I'm going to miss my flight, what magic could I create? Okay, and if I didn't have any fixed point of view here that this line is moving too slow, what magic could I create here? Okay, and I'm telling you, it's so amazing. The line started moving. I noticed that, you know how in airports they have you zigzag back and forth in the line because, so that the line could take up less space than if it, went out the door and down the parking lot. It was a really long length to go from one end to the other and then wrap around. Well, I noticed pretty quickly that I had already gone one length. And then I just kept asking. I noticed that the line was moving lickety-split. So long story short, within 12 minutes, about 70 people had been taken care of, and I was up at the counter. And so I'm like, cool, how does it get any better than this? And I just kept asking, okay, if I had no fixed point of view here, what other magic could I create? So I get to the security line, and I was like all smiles. There were like 4 people in front of me. I mean, there was like no line. I mean, you expected after 70 people went through just this one ticket counter that there'd be a long line. Not a long line. So I get in there, and I get directed over to a line where there's only like 2 people in front of me. And so I'm like, woohoo, what other magic can I create? And so I get through the security line, lickety split, and then I forgot to mention that because I checked in so late for my flight, I was on Southwest Airlines. My boarding gate was, my boarding number was C31. Well, you know, they have Group A, Group B, Group C, and I'm like C31. And while I was there in line to get on, that's when I really asked the question, okay, what fixed point of views do I have here? And my fixed point of view was that because I'm like the 5th to the last person to get on the plane, I'm going to have a crappy seat. I'm going to have to sit in the middle seat, and I didn't really want that. So sure enough, I walk through the door onto the plane, and I hear the flight attendant say to everybody sitting down or over the little, intercom thing that this is a full flight and there are only middle seats left. And I'm like, okay, so if I had no fixed point of view here, what magic could I create? So I'm standing right there in the front of the plane, and I look at the 2 rows of seats right at the very front, and sure enough, both middle seats are open. But I thought, well, I don't want to sit in the front row right here because I want the flip down table in front of me. But I did want to sit near the front of the plane so that I could get off quickly. And so I just kept asking, okay, if I had no fixed point of view here, what could I create? What magic could I create? And it was so awesome. I'm standing right there now I'm like moved to the 2nd row. And the man right in front of me was like right parallel in the aisle next to the 3rd row. And I just happened to look down, and I noticed that an aisle seat in the 3rd row was open. And I'm like, oh my God. And I like look at the older couple that are sitting in the window in the middle seat, and I mouthed to them, is that seat open? And the woman sitting by the window said, yeah. She motions to me, take it. And I'm like, oh, cool. How does it get any better than this? Well, this man was standing in front of that seat, but he didn't see it. And so I kind of did this, like energetically, move along so I can sit into the seat. And sure enough, I got this aisle seat in the 3rd row. And here I had, 100 people get on the plane before me. So it was just by willing to receive a different possibility instead of functioning from conclusion that because I was, near the end of all of the passengers that were boarding, that I wouldn't get a good seat. So how does it get any better than that? So the question is, if I have no fixed point of views here, what magic could I create? And I created that seat. I mean, it was really awesome. So yeah, so play around with that, and I wonder what kind of freedom that could create in your life, freeing you from the conclusions that are creating situations for you that are limiting and not as much fun as you could be receiving. Okay, have a great day and create some freedom for yourself today. Bye.